I can't spend my days, my time being in a place that has nothing to do with me. Because this is your deal with time. This time will not come back. The time you are being unhappy in a certain place, a relationship, in a situation, this time does not come back. This time does not come back. Make the decision that is favorable to you, and consequently, you favor the people around you. Because happy people do not bother others. You can see the most difficult people, those people who are always boring, always upset with their lives. They have difficulty seeing the joy and happiness of others. They are heavy, difficult people. Why? They are not happy in hand over time. Wisdom in hand over time is critical for us to have the satisfaction of you realizing that you are in the right place, doing the right thing. Nothing can be superior to this joy, my people. God wakes us up for this all the time, so that we are the right people in the right places. And it's worth it to reflect on it. Every day before bed, today I was the one I could have been in. Today I did what I really did. I was honest with me. I sought the best part. I was honest in wanting and fighting, working, winning the difficulties to be able to take my place. This is an indication of human fulfillment when we realize that we are overcoming difficulties that make sense. They are sufferings that make sense because they are contributing to our growth. It is not intelligent to continue living, provoking what is getting sick, because sooner or later, the medicines will lose the ability to do to me what my attitude should do. And of course, later, the medicine assisted by an attitude that changes life. He wonders us, because he is not working alone, and you are not judging the responsibility to heal about that medicine. Why do I say all this, my people? Because we are all very physically ill. Psychic and emotionally ill. Physical diseases, emotional diseases, psychic diseases, spiritual diseases that are also linked to our read over time because our deal with time. Somewhere there, we are neglecting, or because we don't have time to take care of us, or because we are imposing a job for which we have not been done, a life for which we have not been done, because this is too important. We know how to manage. I need to update my identity. I need to look at myself, my essence, realize everything that surrounds me. What are my choices? What I have done? And very honestly say to me if all that I have done has something to do with me. There is no ruler to know how much we are already a Christian, but there are some interesting indications for us to pay attention. One of them is the quality of our friendships. As we have good friends, we build good friends. The more we grow in God, the greater our sieve for relationships. It's not that we will despise people. It's not that we'll be arrogant, proud. No, on the contrary. The experience with Jesus, she will simplify us. And because we get simpler, we are also bluntly to say what we want or not. There are people who sometimes have that malinder of never being able to tell the truth. You know that this relationship of friendship, of proximity, it is no longer doing you well, because that person only looks for you to make gossip. They always induce you to be extracting from you the worst. I always like to give this example. A married man who wants to be faithful to his wife, his children, his family. He needs to know very well with him what the companions are, so say they have influence on him. Because if he wants to be faithful, of course, he will not be able to lower his guard so that people who are not at all interested in his faithfulness to the family be around and influencing. So sometimes we, in our relationships, do not always have the discernment of realizing who should be closer to us at this moment of our lives. Just as when we are sick, we need to regularly find doctors, friendship is the same thing. When we are fragile, we have a lot of need of having people of trust by our side. And trust is the result of time, right, my people? It's no use we want to trust overnight. That's why we need to be very careful with the new ones that arrive. It is not that we will close our doors for new friendships. It's not that. But you are aware if these who have just arrived are already worthy of you to trust your life. Father Fabio, fear is sometimes lack of faith. We need to distinguish well, right? Because there are fears that are positive, right? Fear is our reaction. It is a human reaction. And it's not just ours, right? The animals are also afraid, which is directly associated with protection. When I feel my life is being paid, I'm afraid. So I will protect myself. So if you are exposed to a risk situation, we need to be afraid. It is natural that we are afraid. It is good that we are afraid. What we can't do is make fear, and that it is too determinate, and that we stop living because of it. Everyone is afraid. We are afraid of being alone. We are afraid of being abandoned. We are afraid of being betrayed. We are afraid of losing our job. We are afraid that will not work. All of this is experience that goes through us. When we start managing this too, you start to create hope. The only way you have to minimize the power of fear is to feed this hope that makes us go ahead. So if I'm afraid and if I live in an insecure city, I create my protection scheme. But I don't stop living because of this fear. Faith, it says a lot more respect. There is a way of being. Because faith is an attitude, right? She is not a... How could I say that? Every time we talk about a person of faith, we are talking about attitudes that person has to demonstrate what is faith. Faith is when you do not have all the clear written data. Faith is precisely that. I don't have all the information, I'm not absolutely sure. But I trust. And when I taught in college, I treated faith a lot as intuition. What is intuition? When you look at a particular reality and you think so, it will work. Then someone asks you, but why do you think it will work? I don't know. I'm thinking it will work. This is an intuition. Faith. I believe it is an even more elaborate intuition. Do you know why? Because it is given to us by God. How does God give us faith? Every time we believe. Every time we put ourselves in life in attitude of faith, it increases within us. It's that beautiful optimism that you perceive in person. You know that the person has difficulties. You know that the person has 1,000 problems. They would have 1,000 reasons to give up. But they stand up. That's why Our Lady Mary is placed as the woman of faith. She had 1,000 reasons to be discouraged. Imagine you being on Calvary, seeing your child's crucifixion, remembering all the projects he had, everything he promised, the establishment of the kingdom. And none of that was happening. Quite the contrary. It was the full humiliation she was witnessing her son. But she believed. Maria was the woman who believed. And in many moments of her life, she has shown us the meaning of faith. She did. She acted. She wasn't a woman who was waiting for things to happen. Was she afraid? Of course she was afraid. But faith was greater than her fears. So in this respect, faith helps us deal with fears. It is the cultivation of operative hope. That is, I am not neglecting. Just like that thing. I trust the protection of God. So I walk the road at 180 per hour. No, this is not honest. This is not fair to the protection that I am asking God. How am I going to ask? Pray. Ask God to protect me if I do not do my part of the miracle. So then, all who are with me in the car will be really afraid. Then I, in an imbecile way, speak, I have faith in God. God protects me. No. No. This is an imbecility. To have faith is that you realize that you are settling within you a common sense attitude. The person has common sense. If you want to recognize a person of faith, just realize that. Does she have common sense to analyze things? Are you a balanced person? Is it a person who really gives advice? What is in accordance with the situation? Because the experience of faith is all that, my people. It's attitude. It's existential. Faith is existential. That is, it goes through our existence all the time, all that is proper to our lives. And when we live this process of faith well, when I deposit my trust in God's hands, when I trust in God's hands my problems, my difficulties, and I do my part, I don't need to be afraid. Fear is when we have that conscience. I prayed and asked God, but I didn't study to take the test. So I go to the test with fear. It does not go with faith. Now, if I study, if I do my part and ask God to happen all the way, then I'm not afraid. Even if I don't pass. Yesterday I was saying this to a friend of mine. She was anxiously asking God for something. And I told her like that, be careful. What you may be asking God here is not His will, but how will I know what His will is? I don't know. Put in His hands, do your part, and if it doesn't work, welcome what didn't work out as His will for your life. This is a big problem, right? Sometimes we pray asking God what we want, but not always what we want is the best for us. If you offer food to a child and show her that she has chocolate cake and has a green salad, of course she wants the chocolate cake. It's much more pleasant. Now I ask, what is best for this child, the chocolate cake or the green salad? If you are listening to what your child asks, you will give the chocolate cake. But if you meet according to his need, you will give the green salad. And sometimes in our prayer life, the same thing happens. We are insistently asking God for the chocolate cake. But He knows that for our lives, the best is the green salad. Make the effort to happen, but if it doesn't work, rest. Do not be embittered, because sometimes God is depriving us of many things. Sometimes God is holding many things so that it does not happen there, and precisely because of it. It's not the best for us, but this tranquility we need to have.